He owns the G-Man Smart Bar. He is really one of the most prolific human beings in Chicago, a legend. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Shanahan.
Thanks, buddy. You betcha. Thank you.
And
how's everybody doing?
One of the people that I am most, it's like a handful of people that I'm most excited that I'm alive at the same time that he is alive in the world. Protean is probably the best adjective I can think of. He is the former lead singer for Black Flag, Rollins band, spoken word artist, published poet, has his own publishing company, movie star, radio show, columnist, podcaster. The guy's pretty much conquered every means of communication that there is. I don't know if he's a telegraph artist or a smoke signal guy, but he might be. Saw him last night at Talia Hall. He was phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, Henry Rollins.
Thank you, sir.
All right, welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. Before we get really into things, I just want to say, first of all, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And I believe, in honor of your birthday, Joe has a gift.
Well, the story is that in, I think, 2002, you performed down at Metro in the Rollins band. And while you were on stage, a very special pair of shorts happened to disappear from the dressing room. And you had come off stage and you were like, where are my shorts?
Right.
Because you needed a dry pair of shorts after basically, going back out for the encore. And I thought today would be a good day to say we found a pair of the exact shorts, the ones. We wanted to make sure that you got them back. We felt really bad. Someone wandered backstage, and that is the look. The black Adidas.
Form following function.
There you go.
There you go.
So we wanted to make sure you got your shorts back.
Appreciate it.
Happy birthday, my friend.
Been sweating that for a fat decade now, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I was so mad.
You were so pissed. But actually, the production girl that is the production manager at Metro, Rochelle, she was doing hospitality that night, and she kind of refreshed the story to me. And she said, oh, man, he was so mad. I go, did we ever find out who did it? He goes, that person walked out of the building and was never seen again.
Yeah, you can't understand why anyone would want them. And anything that you use every day when you're on tour, you really need it. Yeah. And when they take it away, you're like, really? I use that.
Right.
And
now
so,
you get a fresh pair.
And now I have a fresh pair.
There you
finally.
go. You use them tonight at Talia Hall.
Now I have to go on tour just to use them.
There you go.
Of course.
All right, guys, I've got 3 segments that I want to talk about. The first one is called Hank and Joe. It is, we know that Joe founded the Metro in 1982. You told me stories about living in the building for the first year with a 45 under your pillow.
Yep.
Jeez.
And
not a 45 record.
Not a 45 record, but an actual, pistol. Yeah. And what I've got listed, this is what I found, was that the first known Black Flag performance at Metro was March 17th, 1983.
Yes.
Black Flag was fairly notable at that point. You guys were established. So tell me a little bit about what that was like. What was it like booking Black Flag? How did you get them to come out here? What was the show like? What were those shows? And what was sort of that scene like?
I have all the really high-tech information right here. I used to write every single show down on a 3x5 card after the show, what the ticket prices were, how many people were paid, and basically what I paid the band. I still have these little cards.
Wow.
I'm going to show them to you tonight. It's pretty interesting. But that particular time, I believe, this is before like the agency world. This is more about us calling SST, getting a hold of either Greg or Doug,
Chuck,
or
yeah.
Chuck,
yeah.
and saying, we'd love to see this band come through Chicago, So as interest began to grow, you guys were a touring machine. I mean, this was something that you guys did because it was your calling.
Yep.
And it was how you made your living.
Yeah,
and
if we
being
didn't-
on the
if-
road meant you had money in your pocket.
If we didn't tour, we didn't eat. It
That's
was
it.
basically down to that.
Yeah.
So.
So that particular era, I mean, that's an early era. That's when we're, I mean, there's holes in the walls. There's floods in the basement. I mean, this building was a wreck. I mean, we didn't have, the gas didn't work sometimes, So we were kind of, just getting our bearings and our feet under us. And what was interesting about that culture was that the bands were also in that same boat. We were all sort of in it together. When I talk about sort of the currency of community, I think it's really important to go back to those early 80s and, up until like the late 80s. And that was, the scene was shared. And we all were in it together, right,
Yeah.
Henry? I mean,
It was different lifelines coming together. And the source was, the idea was, we need money not so we can get rich and sit around, but so we can sustain. And if you want to have cool bands come to this venue next year, they got to come this year. And the bands need the venues, and the venues need the bands. And there was no contempt. There was just, we need each other.
Right.
And so this mutual need to sustain was a really good thing, because it was win-win for everyone, because
Right.
all these bands want to do is play and have someone get an audience and like have a life in
Right.
music. And the better venues like the Metro, they're actually about a love of music and culture. And some venues are just about the money, and you can tell when you get in.
Right.
You realize the owner just wants the men to come and the women to come and to buy beer, and the music is a sideshow, where the people who sustained realize that the music and the art is the show, and people will come if you bring good things.
Right.
And so the venue has to trust the audience and the band. The band has to trust the venue. And so you have a lot of trust going on, and a lot of, I hate the word, but there's a lot of faith in that this thing can go forward. Because if it fails on you, all of a sudden you have a lease on this building.
Sure.
That leaks. That has problems, and now you'll be in debt for the rest of your life.
Right.
So if I don't come through, if they don't come through,
Right.
you're out of business, I'm out of business, and the audience moves somewhere else.
Exactly.
And so it was one of those things where everyone realized, if we don't get along and have some miracles and kick a lot of ass and do really well, no one gets anything going forward.
Right.
And I think the audience has got it, the band's got it, and the venue's got it. This venue got it. And Black
punk rock,
Flag.
right.
So,
Punk rock,
well, Black Flag survived on good promoters, good agents, and honest venues. And this was an oasis for us. Yeah. We'd get fed, we'd get paid honestly, because we're not making enough to buy apartments. We are going gas, drum heads, bass strings, a meal. And the Metro was one of those places you just knew everything was going to be okay. And that's why we played here like up to 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We like did laps around America and always landed here.
It was about every 6 months or so that we would see you guys come through,
Yeah.
And one other thing that I would like to add to that is that back then, there was a lot of, I'm going to say violence connected to the music, but there were some knuckleheads that would come to some of the shows, and we didn't have even a barricade in Metro. We have one now because of all the insurance issues and things like that. But back then, Henry would be the guy, or a guy like Jeff Pizzotti, who would, like, as the crowd would get completely riled up, he'd come out and say, "Okay, everybody, no one can get hurt here. We got to take care of each other." And what he was really saying was, we want the venue to be here the next time we come back, because if shit goes down and the police come in and take the whole thing down, hey, that could be the end of this scene. And so, in a way, that was also happening. We appreciated the audience as much as we appreciated the music, as we appreciated the moment. And that communal musical moment was ferocious back then. Yep. Ferocious.
Yeah, and it was, I knew how to put out fires. And because
I think you still do.
Well, sometimes you'd be at a venue and there'd be people acting out, and the thing is going south. Like, okay, the cops will be here any minute, because the promoter, he doesn't want his venue damaged. Like, so he's going to pull the plug on the show.
Right.
And so sometimes the opening band there'd be some harshness going on. I'd walk out there and go, all right, here's how it has to be. And I'm young with a bunch of people my own age, and I'm having to reason with a bunch of fellow savages. And I said, look, you want us to go on? You guys got to cool it. Like, figure out where you are. You're responsible for this. Like, get a clue. This isn't your parents' place. This is your place. Right. Treat it as such. And you'd see people kind of like, ding, the light bulb goes on, and all of a sudden some guy turns the other guy loose, and they're like, right. I'm like, thank you. Like, if you want to do this next week or next year, be cool. This is yours to lose. And I think it was punk rock that really taught the punters, the audience, that it was their show.
Absolutely.
Because, those
they
days,
were involved.
Yes. And in those days, there's no rock star separation. We're not leaving in a covered wagon.
No.
You walk right through the audience to start loading out your gear through the audience. And someone would help you with an amp. Someone that was right there all night is now helping you carry your wounded gear to your crap van.
Henry,
and so there's no separation.
You would stand in between the Metro and the G-Man and stand and talk to people for however long people were out there.
Yeah.
Because you were on your way to the next city, but the fans, it wasn't like fans. They were us. There was no us and them.
It was fellow celebrants.
It was just us.
Yeah, and I'm 55 and I've been doing shows since I was 19. I still have that mentality. I have no idea of a difference between myself and the audience, because that's what I come from. The audience has been redefining themselves with me, because now they wait for me at train stations, airports, and hotels with photos. So I'm like, okay, that's a little intense. How you knew I was landing in this plane? That happened yesterday. I'm like, wow, okay, you're got some interesting 411. But in my mind, I am just one of the audience members who's on stage that night. Because if I'm local in Los Angeles, I go to gigs all the time. And I see bands like a fraction of my age. And I'm usually the oldest person in the room. But one night, every other year or so, I'm on that stage. So I see no real difference between me and the audience. And in those days, you often slept at one of the audience members' apartment or in their dorm or in their parents' house. So there was no separation between you and the audience.
Well, it's an interesting thing because in preparation for this, I've been a fan of yours since I was 18. I just turned 50, so it's, and knowing that I was going to get to sit down and have a conversation with the two of you, I got a little jacked up. And then last night went to your show last night, and it suddenly, and I noticed this when I got home, is it demystified the experience, because you are very much just a guy doing your show. And that was, I think that's one of the things, the authenticity that you bring to the stage actually does sort of like, oh, okay, because I was sort of like, oh yeah, I'm just going to talk to Henry. It's not, whoa.
Well, if I'm nobody from nowhere, I'm from the minimum wage working world. I'm just an insanely lucky guy with a big mouth. And so I have no illusions as to where I'm from and what I could probably go back to if I could find an opening at Starbucks and to be a barista. And I'm not putting that down. I'm just saying I come from a realistic world of small apartments and punching a time clock and all of that. And so that's what comes off of me. Punk rock, the idea of punk rock made things possible for me. Because I used to see Led Zeppelin and Ted Nugent, these arena rock bands. You're looking at it like, I could never do that because that could never happen. But when you'd go see the Cramps or the Bad Brains, you go like, well, these guys are still amazing, but this is possible. Music, it's not an unassaultable summit. You can get there. And I've always come from I'm just some guy who went for it. And that's what hopefully comes off. Like last night, I just tell these stories of some guy who dares to, show up and do crazy things. And that's kind of my life. But it comes from punk rock and those roots of the promoter, the venue, the audience, the bands, kind of coming from the same level playing field. And one day, the guy who came to your show, 2 years later, he books your show. We would get some young...
Or he's in a band that's supporting Henry downstairs. And that would happen as well. That you remember, it was really important to your ethos to find out what was sort of happening locally.
Absolutely.
Who was going to be the support band?
Yep.
It was important to SST. It was important to the guys in Black Flag. And we would say, okay, we have a series of bands, almost like a pool. Like, here's our scene. Let's make sure that Naked Ray Gun gets on, or Big Black, or whoever, to make sure that, again, we're growing that. We're growing that, I don't use the word organically, but really we're pushing something into that commerce and breathing into that art based on the fact that you're going to sell 600, 700, 800 tickets, or even further, and then you have a band that would come in and play for 30 minutes And that guy was probably loading your gear a year before that.
And Dukowski, our bass player and agent type, he was really brutal. He said, like, we would have these good bands open for us. And he said, like, I said one day, like, this is great. Why are you so concentrating on local talent? He said, because one day, if everything goes right, you might be opening for them, and you'll be grateful for the gig. And I was like, he's like, yeah, you better get a clue.
Okay, so
because that's the real world.
That's the real world.
That's the real world.
Yeah. So in in '86, you'd pretty much done Black Flag here, and then Joe booked you as one of your talking shows. And according to Joe, when you and I talked, that was the first time you'd had a talking show here?
I believe, we had a little conversation earlier about Lydia Lunch, and she was a friend of Henry's, and she was kind of, as I call her, the East Village Oracle in New York City. Spoken word was really important at that time, because there were real poets that were in the rock sort of world or in the punk rock world. And when we found out that Henry was doing that, we jumped at the chance to actually have you do Metro. And that was the first sort of, there's a guy who's been in a band, and he's going to get up and he's going to tell us a story. He's going to talk about his book or tell us a poem. It was remarkable. And that was how you also tied your touring and your spoken word together, because one had to exist with the other, financially, as well as artistically as well. So the story begins to continue to grow from one to the other.
And it was in the Metro when I did that show then. That was the first time I actually made enough money to pay for my meal, my next Amtrak ticket, and actually have some left over. And I was in disbelief. So I'm not trying to make this all about money, but when you are living gig to gig, it is, all I want to do is pay the phone bill, not get booted out of my apartment, which holds the entirety of my book company, like in 8 corners, like these boxes of books. I'm sending books to people with inside-out grocery bags as Jiffy packs, because I can't afford the Jiffy packs. And so I made money in this venue, like hundreds of people showed up. I'm like, damn! And it was a miracle.
So not that it's all about money, but I do have this little card, and I pulled them up because I wanted to look at these again, but that was December 5th, 1986. You made $500. It was a $5 ticket. And there was another thing that our ethos was also about, that we don't want to charge what Ted Nugent and Led Zeppelin were charging. We wanted to keep it. I mean, like, when we got to a $10 ticket for a band, it was like, oh my God, it's like they're so big. But it was important for us to make sure that a living could be made for the artist. Our staff could make some money or get paid, and have the audience enjoy it at a price that was really affordable. And at the time, $5, see someone talk, what's that really mean? Everyone walked out going, that was mind-blowing, because then you turned it into a full compliment to everything else you were doing.
So okay, so you're Black Flag, you haven't gotten a Rollins band, you're like, and you're looking for things to do. What made you think that people would sit and listen to you talk?
Sheer chutzpah. Just being fearless on stage. And there's a promoter in Los Angeles, and he would do these shows where you get like 10 people on stage, everyone gets 5 minutes, or everyone gets 10 minutes.
Oh, like a slam.
Yes. And Chuck Dukowski would be part of these. A guy named Harvey Kuberneck, this promoter, really amazing guy. Friends of the Stooges, friends of the Doors. He was a real LA insider back in the day. And I would go with Dukowski and watch him do these shows, because it was in Hollywood. We'd go into the big city. We were beach people. And so one night he does his thing. And Harvey says, like, next week we're doing a show, you do 10 minutes. I'm like, what am I going to do? He's like, you have a very big mouth, and we're paying $10 a head. I'm like, oh, I'll take that money, because that's 2 meals, 3 meals. And so the next week I'm on stage, and I read a thing I'd written, and I told this crazy story about how a neo-Nazi guy in a car had tried to run over Greg Ginn at band practice, because we practiced in a gang neighborhood. And the Sons of Samoa, Samoan gang, they would come and hang out at band practice. It's their neighborhood. They want to come in, they're coming in. And so the local Long Beach white power branch found out that we have non-whites at our band practice, and they were angry because we're falling out of their value system, like we're friends of theirs.
Right.
And poor Greg was walking to the liquor store to buy some orange juice, and this guy comes on the sidewalk and tries to mow Greg down. And Greg, thankfully, is agile, and he runs up on a lawn. And so I told this story, which for us is another Tuesday in the life of Black Flag. I'm like, yeah, the neo-Nazi missed him by that much. And the audience is like, ah! I'm like, yep, 10 minutes is up, I'm gone. And they're like, no, do another one. And I said, well, my time is up. And afterwards, people came up and was like, when's your next show? I said, well, we're on tour. Like, no, your next show, we just talk. Yeah. I go, there is no next one. I got this $10 bill and I'm out.
Yeah. I'm going to get coffee.
Denny's is calling.
I have thrown it out and I'm done.
I see that Grand Slam floating. And Harvey said, that was really good and everyone loved it. Would you want to do, we'll give you 20 minutes and you'll open for one of my poets. And I went, okay. And then a few months into that, the poets are now opening for me, which they didn't take very well. and that was like 83, 84. And that's when I met Lydia Lunch, and I learned a lot from her. And by 85, I did my first cross-country tour in a Black Flag van. I had to rent from Black Flag Inc. and pay in full.
You got to go to the board. You got to go to the board meeting.
Yeah. And then in 86, the band had broken up, and I'm starting to form my own band. And I just came out of the studio, finished my first solo record, and I said, no money. And I'm calling people, and I got a gig here, and that's that December show.
Right. That's exactly.
And then by spring of '87, the Rollins band is on the road, and years later, we're back here again.
Exactly.
Yeah. So but you keep seeing these people over and over again. And I was very smart when I was age 20 and growing up on the road. I realized I should not write on the walls. I should never be late. I should never abuse the staff, because I'm going to see these people again and again and again and again, and that has proven to be true. Where Steve in Minneapolis, this guy here,
Vince Van Endemer.
Yeah, I have the same agent in Europe that I've had since Black Flag. We are 35 years in.
Wow.
I've had the same accountant for 100 years. The same. You build these relationships, and do your best. Don't screw them up, because this is your life. And I realized I'm going to live my life on the road in venues with audiences. That's what I'm here to do.
You're built for it.
Yeah, and these are temporary homes of mine. So don't screw up the carpet. Right. And whenever I see bands like, they kicked a hole in the wall, I go, really?
Yeah.
They're not thinking strategically. That venue will never have you back again.
Right.
Like, how could you torch your house?
Right.
And I learned that, and you'll never see a wall kicked in by me. Right. And every venue ask them, who's the friendliest group that comes in? Oh, when Henry and his crew comes in, they're so polite, they leave mints under our pillows. Because
foot massage.
I really need these venues to keep saying yes to me.
That's right.
Because without them, I'm the tree that falls in the forest unwitnessed.
Right.
I don't have a voice.
Right.
And so these venues provide the voice. So these relationships are some of the most long-standing relationships I have in my life are with promoters, are with
what
agents.
you smartly have done is you have just, you don't burn a bridge, you build a bridge.
Bingo.
And
you maintain it.
And those bridges just keep moving, and that's why you can continue to do what you do with ease, because again, people want to work with you. It's interesting. And I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So you win a Grammy for Get in the Van.
Yeah, the audio version, yeah.
So I mean, the spoken word Grammy goes to JFK, Obama,
Charlton Heston,
Angela Davis, Maya Angelou, Patti Smith. I mean, I have to say, this goes back to this idea of the voice. You have that voice. It shakes people. It inspires people. And I just wanted you to know that whether you're doing spoken word or whether you're singing, I mean, there's still this visceral thing that you do. And you have one of the most distinctive voices on the planet. I mean, people know it well now. And it's interesting that how many shows now are you doing a year with spoken word? How much work are you actually doing?
I do up to 200 shows a year in about 25 countries. Because thank you. This, as you can imagine, this kind of show travels very easily in that I have no production, there's no rear screen. It's just me and a microphone and a road manager. And sometimes the road manager, I give him a break because he has a family and a real life. And so like this September in Australia, he'll leave after the show in Perth. He'll go home and get ready for the North American tour. I'm going to South Africa. And I always do South Africa on my own to give him a breather because he's got a kid and a wife and all that. And I have none of that. So I always go to Johannesburg on my own. And so this year, this will be country 13. Sure. I'm on stage tonight in America. So far it's been Holland, Belgium, Germany, Ukraine, Russia, Poland, England, let's see, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Scotland, Ireland. I think that's all of them.
So basically a part-time job for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a thing you do.
And so this year I'll be on the road till about late December.
Beautiful.
I have 3 films to promote and a bunch of shows to do. And hopefully, happy audience is waiting for me.
So we go back to the idea of like one in the 80s and how we were working kind of an underground system of, sort of scenes that were in New York and LA and Chicago and Detroit. Now, because, today I was actually on your website and just saw like how robust it is. Quite honestly, that's been terrific for you. There's a real ability to reach so many people.
The internet served me very well.
Yeah. And musically, you think it served you well?
Well, I was not really doing music. I stopped doing music years ago, just because one day I woke up with no lyrics, and my choice was either go on stage and be an oldies act. I don't feel old.
There you go.
But I don't want to be like, hey, kids, remember this one? And the audience would go like, actually, no, but my father might.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be wheezing through the oldies. I just, because it wore me out as a 20-something, I don't want it to kill me as a 50-something. And so I stopped doing music. And so it was later that the internet really came to the aid of musicians where here's a new song, I'll put it on my Bandcamp page and you can buy that and that'll help get us on the road. I come musically from a far more analog, we're doing the mailing list, fold, staple, bulk mail kind of thing. But it has helped the talking shows.
Earlier we were talking about commerce, and we kind of backed off, and then we talked about commerce, and now we're talking about the internet. And I'm getting to the section that I think is interesting now. It's today. We've visited the past. Vince Gill said this, and I like this quote: "The devaluation of music and what it's now deemed to be worth is laughable to me. My single cost 99 cents. That's what a single cost in 1960. Some would say that this fart app, that's on my phone I can get an app for 99 cents that makes fart noises, the same price as the thing I create and speak to the world with. Some would say the fart app is more important. It's an awkward time. Creative brains are being sorely mistreated." Does that sound right, and how did we get there?
It sounds like reality in that the two things have the same cost, but they have a different intellectual weight. And so I would say to Vince Gill, I feel your pain, but you say you're a singer-songwriter, right? So shut up and sing your song. In that, like, at some point, you just got to get on with it, and the technology is what it is. And like you say you want to be on stage, so get up there, son, and stop quibbling. I get it. I agree with him. But at some point, you have to go like, that's the bigger wave, and either it crushes you or you ride it. And unfortunately, young people listen to those wretched headphones with a B on it, and they listen to MP3s on their phone. And I want to tear all this equipment off them and go, no, no, no. You're not listening to music. You're listening to some computerized thing, and you're listening to music on your phone? Oh, I want to help you. Like, get those things off your head. Get that. Use your phone for talking now and then.
Buy a record.
Stop
get a
taking photos
turntable.
of your. Yes, thank you. And like, I'd love to start some kind of fund for young people to have the analog music rescue association. we airlift stereo equipment and deploy. And like kids run after little parachutes of turntables and like, yay, analog, what you're supposed to be hearing. However, like I sell more downloads. I sell more downloads of my books than I sell physical copies of my books. Some of my older titles, this woman Heidi who runs all my companies, she said, here's a decision you have to make. Here's one of your older titles. It sells a few hundred copies a year. Either we make another run, and paper and glue is very expensive, or this thing goes out of print and lives in the ebook world. I'm like, wow. She goes, your decision, your money, but our merch company doesn't want to use all the space because they're used to cloth moving through. Sure. All of a sudden they need an extra warehouse for you and your forest of paper. And I said, damn, we just have to be in 2016. Just let it go into print as an ebooks. Now this book will go out of the physical world that I grew up with. Like, I bought a book, I mark it up, I carry it in my backpack, I touch it, to I download it. And that's where me and Vince Gill are on the same page. However, I just have to let the present be the present and laugh at the fact that you can get an app that has a bong rip sound for the same price, and that will be downloaded. But I've been living in that world forever. In that, my joke that's very demonstrative is, I always say the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I'm not putting them down, the Red Hot Chili Peppers give away more copies of any new record of theirs in promotion than I sell of my next record. And that is the fact. Yeah. And so you must put things in perspective. And if in 2016 we're streaming music and the bands are getting 8 cents per million sales, I'm sorry about that. Maybe that would inspire the true fans to go to the gig and buy the t-shirt and keep this band on the road.
You know, it's interesting because I think it goes back to the 80s in a sense of that idea that the real currency was playing live.
Yep.
And so, Wayne Kramer from the MC5 has this great thing. He says, the only thing better than music is live music.
Yep.
And it's true because, and that's what's not being, monetized, digitized. A live performance.
Right.
Whether it's spoken word or whether it's the band's going to play in Metro tonight. Trust me, people still will, thank God you all want to, it's great, come and see that because it's important.
Well, it's realer than real.
Because it's real.
No,
exactly.
It's realer than a record.
Difference. So back in the day when Warner Brothers was signing every punk rock band up and, some of the bands made some money, but a lot of them didn't. The point is that records, that is whatever, but the live experience is where you make your money.
Yep.
You got to go out and make it.
And you make the most important thing. You make the connection.
Yeah.
And because thankfully it's not about money all the time. And so you make the human connection, you and an audience.
No
That's
question.
A relationship.
Absolutely.
It is the most profound relationship I have in my life. And I'm a very dysfunctional person, perfect for a stage. And I don't understand affection or love. I don't really understand it. But if there's anything I truly love, it's my audience.
Sure.
And when I say I'm not trying to be proprietary. I'm just saying I love these people. They show up.
Right.
If I do a bad show, I should lop off a finger and go, I'm so sorry.
Right.
I love them so much. I fear them. I fear failing them.
Yeah.
I obsess over the audience. Was I nice enough to that one last kid I met on my way to the car? Like, did I sign my name right on this record? I take all of this stuff really seriously because people have trusted me with their night, with their time.
With their time. That's important.
That's the biggest thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, forget the money. It's a night of their lives. There's a babysitter involved. There's a workplace the next day. There's an excruciating time. They're getting up off the slab to go to the cubicle. And you cannot let these people down.
That's right.
And that's why I travel hard and live hard to bring kick-ass stories to the stage, like all the stuff you saw last night, where it's good chow. They walk out going, all right, that was righteous.
Nourished.
It can't be, well, great, that's like 3 hours I'm never getting back.
Exactly.
I'd rather just put a katana blade into my guts.
Yeah.
And so
I felt that about a couple of movies I've seen recently. And you're not getting those hours back.
And that happens. And these people will bloodlessly take your money. But I have a very analog relationship with performance where I've never been in a position where I sold a lot of records. No. And as they used to say about, the Ramones, if only t-shirts could go platinum. Because everyone...
No question.
And they would say that about the Ramones and Motorhead because everyone's got that shirt, but not everyone bought the record.
Right.
And they should because they're all great. And so...
Johnny Ramone had this story. He told me that basically at the end of the tour, he would get the cash from the t-shirt sales and he would take it and put it in a shoebox, one of the Chuck Taylor boxes, because he'd started a tour with a fresh pair of shoes, and then he put the cash from the t-shirts and put it in a closet in his apartment in New York City. He bought his house cash with all the t-shirt money.
Yeah.
It's a true story.
No,
he told me himself.
I've been to the house.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He and Cindy, absolutely.
And like he still, I knew
R.I.P.,
Johnny
yeah.
towards the end of his life. I would spend time with him. I was with him like a day and a half before he passed away.
I know that.
And after he died, I called his wife, Linda. I said,
Yeah.
you know, your house is a historical site. We need to database everything in there. Absolutely. She said, okay.
Baseball
and
cards.
so I went in there, and there's shoe
Baseball cards.
boxes of every baseball card, every ticket of every gig he ever went to.
Every gig.
So I'm unbundling these rubber banded tickets. Mott the Hoople,
Right.
Fillmore East, Stooges, St. Mark's Place.
Sure.
You know, and then there's baseball games. And like I'm like, Linda, this is wow.
I know.
And like she has all
Gold.
this stuff sitting in this house. It's incredible.
Right.
And Johnny was a working class musician. He saved
Exactly.
every penny.
Absolutely.
And those two lived in apartments
Right.
that big.
So when we talk about our that scene, the Ramones were our they were the big tank.
The first time in my life I was starstruck.
Yeah.
Because I saw them in a place about this big, which is now a Chinese restaurant in Virginia. It was called Louis Rock City. Holds like 300
Nice.
people. They put 600 people. They're spraying us with WD-40 and shoving us in. I was right there on that side of the stage watching Didi Ramone drip water off his nose like a faucet.
Right.
And they played, and I thought I was going to die because you're smashed together, and they would not stop playing one song after another, and they come out for like another 30-minute encore of 80 more songs.
Right.
And like.
You're exhausted.
Oh, beyond.
Yeah.
Like, and afterwards, you have to peel yourself off the other guy because you've been smashed together, and now your body salts have melded through your like Velcro. And we're outside panting next to Ian MacKay's 1941 Duster, like. And Mark Sullivan from the band Kingface went to a 7-Eleven, bought a full liter bottle of Coke, and administered Coca-Cola to us like one capful at a time to slowly rehydrate life. And we drove slowly and woundedly back to D.C., having seen the Ramones, and they walked right out on stage. I'm like, there they are. They look just like the record. Mm-hmm. And Joey said, "Good evening. It's good to be back in Virginia. Take it, did it." And the rest of the night was magic, and I've never recovered. But they were, for a lot of us, a way forward. Like you'd see them and you're
exactly.
like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Not that they made it look easy, but they made it seem possible.
So before I opened the club, that was the band that I road trip for. What they were playing, if they were on tour, I went to all their little college shows and stuff like that. And you're right, you'd walk away going, holy shit, that was something so beautiful, so visceral, so loud, so
and
great.
So original.
Oh yeah.
I mean, to me, they reinvented the rock wheel, and they are the reason there's so many other bands in existence. Is there's a few bands when they finally write the final history on rock and roll. There's gonna be a few bands that they're gonna say, here's the ones that made all the ships sail, and the Ramones are one of them. Minor Threat is another. Ian MacKay. He's so many bands in the '80s, like they heard that record and they went, we're going to go into a basement. We're going to start doing this.
Absolutely.
And but the Ramones are a kind of almost a Jeffersonian Lincoln founding father building block.
Absolutely.
Of like the thing that everyone kind of easily goes down this highway with rest stops. All the when the Ramones were doing it, it was dense forest.
Absolutely.
And they're just hacking through it because no one wanted to hear this music at first. Like you hear the early bootlegs.
Oh yeah.
And there's like 4 people clapping.
Exactly.
No, I have all those bootlegs. Like, this song's called the Blitzkrieg Bop. And you meet those 4 people who years later, and you're like, you were at that show in Albany? I've got that on LP. Like, yep, changed my life. Yep. I became a DJ on a radio station after that show.
Exactly.
And everyone became something.
All right. Now, one of the things in talking to Joe and all the stuff I've read about the interviews and things like that I thought was very interesting is that you have something in common that I didn't see coming. When I talked to Joe the other day, one of the things you said was that you were always, just as one of the things, just a part of your personality in 35 years, you've always just been looking to create things. You're just looking to do what's the next thing going on and looking to collaborate with the people that you work with to create new stuff. Henry, just the other day in the Tribune, this is from one of the interviews they had. You said, the fact is that I'm always thinking of something to build. A new book, a radio show, plans for a trip somewhere. And so it basically creates a situation where both of you are sort of the sharks that must swim to survive. And I guess my question is twofold: is how does that work? I mean, is there so many? Do you have so many things you want to try that you fuck so many up that we don't see, and the ones that we see are the ones that succeed, or, how does that work? How does your creative process
You go first.
work? And then the second thing is it kind of a lonely thing to be a shark that's got to constantly be moving?
Well, I will tell you, from my experience, this place is not about me. It is about the people that work here, and we work together. My staff, my colleagues, they're family. We do this together. They're like-minded. So the like-mindedness of it is what gives me the energy to keep doing and challenging all of us, and they challenge me back. They're great ideas. The woman that put this together tonight is a good example. I mean, she's been with the company for many years, and this was an idea of hers. I was like, I am for it. How do we do it? How do we figure it out? Let's make it happen. So my point is that the audience, as Henry was so eloquent, I mean, I love them too. I mean, I feel that I want to have them enjoy their day here or their night here at Metro. I want it to be affordable. I want it to be clean. I want it to be safe. So the creative piece is purely, it's personal still. It's personal taste. I go after things that other clubs won't. Mm-hmm. They just don't. They just say, oh, what is that? Or they don't want to take a chance, possibly, or they don't see the money in it. There's a lot of places, I mean, in big corporate America, House of Blues, that kind of thing. It's all about, they'll put, a Def Leppard cover band on a Friday night. I'm not quite there yet. I'll do maybe a fake REM band because I want to goof around with my birthday or something. But, I think that's part of it, is that it's the challenge that we create day to day with the staff, with my colleagues.
Yeah, for me, I work primarily alone because I'm alone on stage. I travel all over the world, all 7 continents, about 90 countries. And most of the time I'm just alone with a backpack and a camera. And I write, and that, no one can help you write, really. You're just sitting there. It's a lonely job, I guess. For me, what you see, a book comes out, something comes out, it's that, I came up with that idea 3 years ago, and it takes that long. Right now I'm working on 4 different books. All 4 of them will come out, I guarantee it, unless I get killed first. Mm. And so they will come out. Will anyone read them? Don't take this the wrong way. I don't care. This is what I do. And at some point in your life, you might or you might not. You decide, this is who I am and this is what I do. So I get up every day and I just damn do it. And it's not about how many people read it. It's about, I am doing this and I'm putting the damn thing out. And so whatever you see come out is because I came up with the idea and I invested. Are there ideas that fail? Yeah, a few things I've done. It didn't, I had an idea and I look back at it and like, well, maybe that was a little self-indulgent, or maybe that was a little, I don't know, midlife crisis-y or something, I don't know. Yeah. But for the most part, it takes so many years to write a book. If it's not a good idea, it starts listing to the side about 2 years into the process. Mm-hmm. And you have to be brave enough to go like, I'm gonna take 25,000 words and trash them. And that is like ripping out your spleen. Mm-hmm. And you have to like, that was a year and a half of like sweating this out. Damn it, it's just not good. And I have well over 100,000 words, or hundreds of thousands of words that sit on my computer to this day. And every few years I go back to it like, nope, it's just still not good. And
so the editing process for you, that's big.
Yeah, it's
got to be of a standard that you can stand and say it.
Yeah, I have to be able to release it and not victimize someone by having them read my. You shouldn't. Yeah. You shouldn't torture the reader. Like, wow, this sucks. Why'd you do this to me? Yeah. Like I invested my time with this book. Like I got stuff to do, and this thing is like so mediocre. I want to bash you over the head with it, and I can't do that to people. Well, I can't willingly do that to people. I probably do anyway. It is what it is.
So the criteria for success on both of yours is really not. It's really not about financial gain. It's not even gain. Just sort of that kind of success is not the highest. Your criteria for success is, do you like it?
You will not believe what I'm going to tell you, but it's true. I never ever think of money. when I do anything.
I believe
Like the tour, the road manager, that's his world. He comes back with the facts. So you go like, okay, so tonight in Holland, which I was just there the other night, you sold this place out and then some. That was all those people standing in the back. And your guarantee was this, and you're not going to believe this, but you made double the money and you walked out with whatever it is. And like that information goes in one ear and out the other, and I'll make some joke like, well, extra cheese on my next pizza, because he knows that I don't care, but it's his job to tell me.
Yeah.
In fact, he told me things from the show last night, and it was numbers involved. Honestly, sitting here right now, I have no memory of what he told me, because I just divorce myself. There's the dynamo at my office, Heidi, the blonde tornado. She knows every penny that I have in the bank account. I have no earthly idea how much money I have.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot.
Which is good. That's a plus.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
But it doesn't affect what I do or how I do it at all.
It's like the days when you had $150 to make and you were looking to get from Ohio to Pittsburgh and pay for a bass string in Denny's.
Right.
You did that shit.
Yeah,
and
but
now you've moved on.
Well, now I'm still looking to get to the next. Now tomorrow morning, I'm looking to get to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Because that's where the next show is, and it'll be February 14th. And what's my job that whole day? My only purpose in life tomorrow is my purpose in life today. I got to hit that stage at 8:30 and not screw it up for 2 hours and just deliver. And that's the only thing on my mind. What the paycheck is, I can't tell you how uninteresting that is to me. And that's a luxurious point of view in that I don't have to think about money. I can just now think about creating. And it's to the benefit of my audience, because I can just now I work harder than ever, because I can just go like, I want to go there, book me a ticket. Thank you. It's like, scalpel, trip to Antarctica, go. And I'm gone.
Yeah.
Pictures of penguins, stories. I come back with a better understanding of global climate change. Next. How much did it cost? I don't know.
So that's the creative currency that we were talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what he's earned.
So now I can go at the speed of my imagination and my ambition to create the next thing. And I don't know what it costs. And I'm sure the accountant would call me if I'm doing something stupid. I meet with them twice a year, and I only ask one question. Am I doing anything stupid? They said, no, we'd call you. And they go, we look at your pay stubs, and we're sad for you, because all you do is buy books and records and plane tickets and the occasional lens. You want a 35 prime or something. Past that, you go to Trader Joe's a lot.
So they're going through your credit card.
You buy a pair of these every 2 years, and there's this receipt from an Army surplus store is where you buy these. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't seem to exist at all.
You're off the grid except for those things.
All I do is work, and all I care about is like, does the laptop work? Is this plane ticket valid? Yeah. And is this mic? Will this go on at 8 p.m.? Because that's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It's incredible.
I drive a Mazda 6. That's it. That's all I need. A to B. And I have no idea what color my underwear are, because I buy like 20 at a time. I don't care.
Just throw them on in the dark.
This is my go-to-meeting black T-shirt. I have 25 of these for the stage and nice appearances. And then I wear the gray one. I got 25 of those, because I wore one day and it fits. So I said, Heidi, can I get like 20 more of these? Like, don't you want any variety? No, I just want to put something on and go to work. And which is what Einstein used to do. Same lab coat and smock every day, because he didn't want to think about it. I look like I work for a company in this drab clothing I wear, because I just go. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, all right. I read once that the response... Oh, go ahead. Yeah, please.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, just for a quick second, get in the van just for a moment. So that was the first time that Metro was ever mentioned in a book.
Huh.
And I remember reading it and going, wow, we're in a book. This is great. 94, we're like, we were in a book. We've been in articles before, but the book, And that is all basically your diaries, right?
Yep.
That was like just your,
Yep.
And quite honestly, as you've all read that book, you know it, right? I mean, quite honestly, it's at the end it gets a little dark, right?
Well, yeah, the '86 tour was a very unhappy band on the road,
Yeah.
a band that wanted to break up, that was obligated to play 150 shows.
150 shows.
Yeah, a whole year of touring
Yeah.
with a very unhappy, unstable environment. Easily one of the worst years of my life.
Yeah, yeah.
And no one liked the band's new songs.
So
and they
there
took
was-
it out on the singer.
So there's some pain there, but that's what ends up being
It was
the
real.
Grammy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the book. I mean, quite honestly, yeah, that's interesting.
And we can't tell that story without the Metro. You can't tell the story of Black Flag or the Rollins Band without the Metro.
Right.
I can't tell my own story without this place and without you. So, yeah, of course you're in the book.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I do
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that the portable Rollins, right?
Yeah.
That story, the mouse story. Is there a? Is this like the mouse story?
Is that the one where the performance artist guy was going to kill the rat if no one stopped him?
That's it.
Yeah, it was in Arizona.
Yeah.
Frank Discussion, the
Yeah.
performance artist band guy, he's an ex-friend of Jello Biafra's.
There you go.
He said, if no one comes on stage, I'm going and rescue this rat, I'm going to kill it. It's like some kind of test of the audience, and everyone just, and I heard this from backstage, and I go running on stage to save the rat in time to watch him hammer it to death.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, man, I'll hammer you to death because I love rats. They're some of the best pets I ever had.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just, damn. Like, and he's like, whoa, what? You're not hardcore. I'm like, hardcore? You want? I will bounce you like a basketball around this parking lot. I thought it was just so sick. It was such a bummer.
Well.
But yeah, no, me and that guy never got along. After that,
I think probably so.
that was one time
was it.
only. Yeah, I never seen him again.
Okay. I read once that the responsibility of each of us as we grow older is to train our replacements. And I thought that was interesting. And so does the notion of teaching the younger generation come into play for either mentoring and that kind of stuff? And if somebody came up to you and said, hey, Joe, I want to open a rock club and I want to be Joe Shanahan, would you tell him, get the fuck, don't, go be an accountant? If
I would tell him to get a therapist, that's what I would tell him.
I want to be Henry Rollins. What do you mentor folks, and what do you tell people that are just getting
wanna go
started?
first?
Yeah, sure. I have really no good advice for that because it happens quite often to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in my third year of college and my band, I think we're really good. Should I stop going to college and take my band on the road or stay in college? And the hard information is I'm always honest. If you had to ask me, you'd just stay in college because I never asked anyone's damn advice. And the only thing I asked is like, get out of my way because here I come. And so if you have to ask, you should probably stay put. Because if you're so compelled to go forward, ain't nothing going to stop you. And you won't be asking. You'll be, it's like, put the light right here. Because it's star time, as James Brown used to say. And so that's what I write back. I go, if you're asking me, get the degree, then, and like, you know what? Do both. Be more open-minded. Keep the band and stay in school. Play locally. It's cool.
Absolutely.
And I just said, the truth is, youngster, the numbers are against you because great bands fail left and right. You're going to put your hook in the most fished stream in the world, and chances are you're not going to be Soundgarden. That's just how it is.
How it works.
It's just how it works. The numbers suck on that game. And so that's the advice I give, only because that's the only advice I can give because it's the only thing I know, and I can't make it up.
I have a daughter. She's 20. She lives in New York City on the Lower East Side. And one of the things I told her before she left for college, I said, look, don't let college get in the way of your education. I really feel that, being in New York at a young age, kind of hard scrabble. And it's very different now, but still hard scrabble, And, I love the idea of our intern program here. We do a lot with Columbia College, a lot with DePaul, a lot with a lot of the great schools in the area. And we meet some really great young people. And the happiness that I get from it is when I see one of them graduate from school, which is cool, but also land somewhere they want to be. So whether they end up at a publicity company like Biz3 here in town, or become an intern or a junior agent at the Windish agency or the Billions agency, I love those success stories. I love seeing that this little building, this little scene still can help, project or propel a young person into something that they want to do for their life.
Right. Yeah, from my end of things, from the performance end, 35 years of this, there's a lot of negatives. And I hope, like, some guy or gal who aspires, with a violin or a guitar or a paintbrush, I hope something great happens for them artistically, because it's so rare and it's such a great life. But the hardness, the external shell that you must grow, the thickness of skin, the toughness of beak, because I don't come from tough, I come from me being a terrified young person. I had to grow such an exoskeleton. So all of a sudden I'm getting in fights. I'm not good at fighting, but all of a sudden I'm like, I guess that's how you do it? Wow, yeah, that works.
That works.
Because like it's either him or me, and so I can't be getting beat up. And in 35 years, I have grown so, in a way, very hard to protect the not hard part, because the gooey center is what makes all the good stuff happen. But you have to be ding, ding, because like you'll have managers who eventually rip you off, lawyers who rip you off, promoters, fans who steal your stuff. I've had my backpack gone through, like while I was on stage, like. That was all the money I had was like that $300 is in that pocket. You might as well have just shot me, and like you stole from me. Like there goes my Walkman. Like really, and that still I get ripped off at least once a year on tour, where someone just goes backstage and you're like, really? Damn, man, I thought we were like pros here. Yeah. And so you have to realize that, or like, hey man, sign my record. Okay. And then I go on eBay all the time because I'm that guy. Right. I see stuff I've signed, like, I'm your biggest fan. You're like, okay, man. And he's selling it for $35. And you're like, okay, it is what it is. It's a different it's an alt economy. I can dig it. But you have to let that go ding, because your natural mind, the next time a youth comes up with a record, you're like, you really? How much are you going to sell it for? No, I've had this record all my life.
That's not a way to live.
I can't I can't be bumming some young person out. So you have to keep going, okay, one more time, wham! Go ahead. And you have to remain vulnerable, yet really tough. And I would not wish that toughness upon anyone, because you have to be kind of a son of a bitch to, like, he's been screwed. In the entertainment world, it comes with. And if you're a woman in it, I have no idea how women aren't just killing men after being in the entertainment business. Sure. From like the misogyny they stand up to every day. Right. And so that part of it, there's true horror stories, and every band has them, every promoter has them, every agent, every lawyer just has like, I hate that guy. Your guts turn black. You become like cancerous from like the acrimony that can be engendered. And you have to kind of keep sidestepping it.
Well, I got ripped off once, and it hurt, but it's sort of a badge of honor now. It's weird. So Johnny Thunders plays Metro, and like my production manager, stage manager, hanging out with him during the day, and he's definitely doing up to no good, bad stuff. And so at one point, Johnny says, I need to get paid. So John Weiser, my production manager at the time, goes and gets him his money, gives it to him. At the end of the show, he comes up to me, because I always settle. We used to settle. I mean, he comes up to me, he says, where's my money? I go, oh, yeah, okay, fine. John just didn't, we just didn't communicate. I paid him twice. He was dead the next week. Oh. Now.
And you helped.
Yeah, exactly. That's the miserable part of it.
That was the third section of the payment.
But it was like one of these things I said, okay, I got it. You learn. I learned that day. I learned from a guy that was, legendary.
And how many times do you think he's done that?
I mean, I have a feeling he did it a lot. That was his trick.
That's some great junkie logic.
That's exactly. Exactly.
On that note, gentlemen, thank you very much. We want to thank Dark Matter Coffee. We want to thank Shure. We want to thank Metro, Stacey Markford, Joe Shanahan, and Henry Rollins. Thank you very much.
Oh, one more thing. I actually have a real birthday present for Henry. This is a photograph of Black Flag here at Metro, and again, no barricade, dude. Yeah. There you are in those shorts. Bobby Scarpelli, who was your choice to have on stage because he was the mellowest and the coolest guy. Looked like a gorilla, but he was like, he just stared at people, and there you are.
Wow.
This is a birthday present from us to you.
Thank you.
From the house photographer. Happy birthday, Henry.
Thank you.
It's great to have you back here.
Thank you, sir. Wow.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming out. Yeah.
Nice,
Amazing.
Huh? You're the fucking dude, man.
Thank you.
You are sweating through.
Yes, sir. That's the only way to do it. Wow. Oh, there's Ginn still had that Paul Reed Smith. That got stolen in Berlin.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, some guy grabbed that and ran down. We were loading out of a club in Berlin, and someone grabbed that and ran.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the last we ever saw it. Who knows where it is now? Yeah.
Look at these kids' faces, though.
Yeah.
They're like, there's jaw dropping, you know?
into it, yeah.
So into it.
With that kind of proximity, sometimes the audiences weren't kind, and I have cigar and cigarette burn scars on my legs with this, like, ashtray. Yeah. Or sometimes they thought parts of my anatomy were a little cold and needed warming up with a lighter.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
It's like a hot foot, but a different part of your body. Yeah.
Beautiful, man.
There you
All
go.
right, let's
Thanks.
take you guys back.
Yeah. Thank you.
I got your stuff.
Yeah.
I'll ship that to you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks. Until next time. Thanks.